So this is the parallel session about why are we educating. We got three wonderful speakers, and I see one of them on the screen right now. Irena from Latvia?
Lithuania.
You see, I knew I would mess this up.
Okay.
So, I mean, my Bildung is lacking, but we actually met before online when you were hosting an event about adult education. So we met before, and then we will have two speakers from Chile who are talking about Nueva Educación, and we will be looking very much forward to that. So I would like to now invite the first speaker, and that is Irena. And I think you should be allowed to pronounce your last name yourself, because I will get in trouble if I try, I think.
I think there is no need. It's Pranskeviciute, but there is no need. And I want to ask, can I share a few slides? Yes. Do you see them? I just checked.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So I will talk about schools, and I have more questions than answers, because I think that it's a good space for inquiry. And my first question for you is the question that was given also to more than 1,000 teachers in Lithuania. And this is the question that is written: if there is a difficult child with special needs, will get better education in the school that is particularly tailored to her needs. Just think for yourself, because this is quite a complicated question that asks us to really measure what drives when we face dilemma. Because on one hand, emotionally, there is a wish to answer no, but on the other hand, when we think about the system and context that we inherit, let's think about the school that has 30 students in one class, or that has constant scarcity and challenges and the stress for results. So we may have very different questions. So why I raise this question? Because it's really not an easy answer, where you value the rationale behind the mind, the logic, the context, and the heart. And I would love that most of the teachers would say that every school is open for every child, but in our country, we have more around 70% of teachers who answer that the difficult children will get better results in schools that are specially tailored for them. And this is not about bad attitude or mindset. This is about the system, the context. We have freedom to create and to make decisions that may be beyond our capacities. So in our country, we've made research on school culture, and we applied the developmental theory for these schools, and we identified 4 types. Some schools really are struggling with constant scarcity, fear, shame, and institutional abuse, because they constantly are losers. One of such example is that, for example, the schools receive the possibility to give grants for teachers, and if results are bad, they may get very small grants. And then we found also non-conventional schools that are very beautiful and nice, like centers, resort centers, friendly homes for those who don't fit the system. And also we found schools that are really great and beautiful, and they are faithfully trying to meet expectations. And also we found few schools that on one hand seems very democratic, very open, but on the other hand, students say that we don't smoke in the area of the school. So you understand that they also have quite a lot of rules. But we found the schools that are open for all the errors. They really learn from the errors, and that it's not only about the education, but including, as I say, human, informational, genetical, economic, scientific, ecological errors is the food for the school to inquire and learn. And if we put these schools on the scale, we might see that some of them have focus on values, and some of them have focus on rules, and some of them, they really manage to balance those quite contradictory directions. And you also might see that we've discussed with those schools about their next growth potential. So what is important in this research, we understood that there is no good or bad school, even if it might seem that some schools are better than the others, but each type of the school depends on the overall context of the evolution of the system. Each school has its own place. So the question is not who is good or bad, but the question is, what is your next step of the growth, where you have your capacity to develop, to design. So as for survival schools, it becomes very important to build relationship, collective sense making. And for conventional schools, really to discuss if we need hierarchies, can we trust, can we change our structures without breaking the system rules. So it's really important to understand what is your role in the overall system, what do you bring, what is your purpose, and where is your growth potential for the school. But it is easy to say, hence it is very difficult to make a shift, because we inherit system, we inherit culture, we inherit states. And in my country, like Lithuania, we are post-Soviet country, so we have quite strong heritage of behaviors that we fight, that are placed in our shadows. Sometimes we fake democracy, we strive for the good, but we shape it to the comfort zone. So I made them the Nelamido system thinking ladders of transformation adjusted for the schools, and there are 12 questions that we have to rise when we think about school change. Often we focus on measures, on feedbacks, what stops us, what supports us, what is the quality of our resources. But still, this is a shallow effect on transformation. The most complicated is the purpose, the flows of information, how we work, how we self-organize, and how we think what is behind our meaning, how we decide what is the most important. And the final question is for this conversation: how do we grow as those who change education, who want to become the trendsetters? So we want to support the beautiful new things in education. So this is the question for us: how do we grow? How we know what we know, how we discuss our context. And for myself, Bildung is exactly the platform for discussing the context. So thank you very much. And my question, where I started with, is what is at the heart of the great school?
Wonderful. Thank you, Irena. Wow. Now we have two speakers to follow this, and this is Viviana and Florencia. And you would like to also share slides, and I mean, you're both teachers, and I think it's in Chile. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
hi to everyone.
I will let you introduce yourselves, and while you talk, I will make you co-host so that you can share your slides.
Okay,
The floor is
thanks.
yours.
Viviana is going to share today. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting us. I'm Florencia Salas, and my partner is Viviana Canessa. Our mother language is Spanish, but we'll try our best.
So you can share slides now.
Great. Well, today we are gonna present about CEPADI and our vision of education, our new education, like Lynn was introducing us. When we ask ourselves, why do we educate? We immediately remember the origin of CEPAD, a little organization born in a very difficult period in the history of our country, Chile, to collaborate and promote the construction of a just and egalitarian society. From that time, our inspirational motto has been Soñar con Porfía, which means to persevere in our dream of a better society, despite the adversities that we face along the way. When we ask ourselves why we are still working in education today, the answer is because we continue dreaming.
The world is constantly changing, and we are trying not just to adjust to that change, but to be an active agent in the construction of this new society. We realized that traditional education was not responding to the needs of our students and not the needs of the contemporary society. And that was a huge challenge we needed to face by starting changes in our schools. Our purpose is to enjoy the process and lead our students to construct their life project and to be prepared to face and live in a challenging world. This mission began the year 2016 when we started dreaming with an education based on collaborative learning process led by the students instead of focusing on teaching process led by educators. We also dream of an education that promotes self-knowledge and emotional management in all the people of our communities. We realized that this change was possible only if we, all the educators, were able to start the change in ourselves. This new dream was an invitation to question all the things that we were doing in our schools and all the things that we had as a certain. This challenge also invited us to find new ways of working and related with each other.
Nowadays, we are practicing the kind of learning system where the students are their own learning manager, having the right opportunities and skills to find and develop their talents and interests. The school is now responsible to provide the students the context, opportunities, and accompaniment to reach their full potential. For doing that, we are using active methodologies like talented or project-based learning and technology as an ally in the process. We promote in our students the love of learning by giving them the opportunity to choose what they want to learn. In our schools, the learning process is approached in a holistic way. We are not just focused on content and cognitive development, but also on emotional and moral development. All along the process of learning, we talk and reflect about how we feel, about our values, and how this new learning will be used in the future. We also promote that all learning experiences have an impact in our local territory or include the people who lived around us. We believe that the learning process has to be with others because a significant aspect of our daily life is a group learning experience.
We are making big changes in our schools, and we know that the process is not finished. We have realized that if we expect that our students will be citizens, active citizens, and they will put their best efforts into environmental sustainability and the construction of a new society, we must be in a constant process of learning, reflecting, and doing changes in our schools.
Since we started the process of change, we have had to get used to living with just a few certainties. One of them is that a change in the education system is necessary, urgent, needed, and possible. If we want some changes in our country or in the world, we have to start with ourselves. If we want to be part of society, of caring, we have to learn to care about ourselves, the others, and the environment. The education system that we dream of and our schools require our commitment and action.
When we ask ourselves why we are still dreaming of an educational system change, the answer is because we know that we are not the only ones that are dreaming it. We know that the process that we have started, it's a never-ending process because the world will always be changing. We know that we will always be learning and searching for new ways to promote and collaborate with the construction of an equal, loving, and fair society that allows everyone to live with dignity. Besides, we know that nowadays there's a lot of people and organizations that share the same dream with us. Our invitation is to create new networks, new bonds that let us learn from each other. We have another certainty. If we work and dream together, it would be an easier and hopeful way to construct a new world. We invite you to learn more about us in our webpage, on our social medias, and in YouTube. We have a documentary that shows our process. It's called The Big Seed Toward a New Education, La Gran Semilla hacia una nueva educación, and it has English subtitles. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Both Irena and Florencia and Viviana. Before we go out into the breakout rooms, are there any short questions for any of the speakers?
Well, the question is short. I don't know if the answer can be short, but thank you very much for your presentation. That sounds very awesome what you are up to there in Chile. So I'd like to, could you shortly maybe tell us a little about some of the reaction from your students? Do they, how do they respond to this more freer learning that I think you present them for, and if it has any, well, they choose their own subjects. Does that have an influence on more, what you would say, traditional subjects that they also have to participate in later on?
Mostly the students like the methodology we are using. They feel more free than the original system of education, because we're trying to promote on them like teamwork or the ways they like to learn, like for example new technologies. So they feel very comfortable with the system we are trying to active now, like in our educational system. But sometimes the traditional system asks us to do and to teach the students some subject, and we try to do it like in a new way, but sometimes we have to invent some systems that try to complement both. Viviana, do you want to say something?
Yes. Nowadays in our schools, there are multidisciplinary projects in all the courses. So the students choose the subject of that project, and we, the adults, the educators, have to find a way to pass their subject, the specific subject, in that project. It has been a great experience for the students, because in Chile, the traditional system, it's very strict, it's very rigid. Our curriculum, it's too rigid. So they have lost the interest of learning. And now in these days, they have more interest, and they are developing a love of learning, because they see that the things that they learn will be useful for their future and for the future of all the people that's around them.
Thank you.